Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, welcome to TFYLP, episode 447. We are live tonight.
Finally.
I know, right? Monday, September 13th. So I apologize for the late start. My computer decided to update and, do a bunch of updates or whatever. Yeah, right. So anyway, I'm Lucas. I am here tonight with Rob.
Hi.
And Rick. And Peter.
Forever Destron?
Oh, I guess you already broke the news to everyone in the chat. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate you letting everyone know.
What? I was keeping people up to date with where the hell's the show. I was like, a traitor's trying to wreck it.
So
keeping it real, man.
There we go. So I think Zaldron was hoping that Anna would be on the show tonight to talk about it. So unfortunately, she will not be joining us, as far as I know. But who knows? Maybe halfway through.
Is she broadcasting on her OnlyFans page tonight?
I don't believe that she has one of those. So.
Oh, right.
So,
neither do
maybe we should start one of those for TFYLP, right?
Rick can finally get to do his shirtless idea that he's been asking about for 4 years.
I'm just one day going to be at TFCon at a panel, and I'm just going to casually start undressing.
You could do it this year. Colin says
no, not this year. Because...
Just keep the mask on.
No, right. I was going to say, Colin says you have to wear a mask. It doesn't say anything about a shirt.
That's right.
So tonight we're being traitors. All of us.
I don't
not even talking about Transformers.
We're not even talking about robots.
I was looking through an IDW comic, and something very interesting popped up at me. It said the Hasbro universe of characters on the back of it. And it said Transformers, G.I. Joe, Mask, Micronauts, ROM, Visionaries, Gobots.
I remember there's some Gobots have showed up in the IDW stuff, as little nods, we've seen Psykill Dead on the side or something like that, right?
Well, they've done a whole Gobots comic book.
Yeah.
Oh, when was that?
It wasn't in the shared universe, but there were weird tangential ties.
It means it could be in the shared. It's like the MCU. Everything that's ever existed is now canon in the MCU. Every iteration of every character is canon now.
Yeah.
So the same could be true of,
except for Transformers, which don't belong in Marvel. We're gonna forget that ever happened. We don't talk about it. Spider-Man did not show up.
It's funny. It's still canon in the IDW continuity, but not in the Marvel continuity.
Yeah, I don't know. Do Transformers have a Marvel Earth designation for them technically, or does they just literally pretend like that one issue never happened? And
it was more than
there's no reason to
there was Transformers versus Avengers. A few, 10 years ago.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
So we're probably Earth TF01 or something.
So Rob, to answer your question, IDW had a 4-issue miniseries of the Gobots a year ago, maybe something like that.
4 years ago.
Maybe it could have been 4 years ago.
It was a while ago.
I don't remember.
And it's heavily implied at the end of it, spoilers, that it's tied to the Transformers G.I. Joe comic done by the same artist, the Tom Scioli guy.
Is it the guy that did the crazy?
Yeah, the crazy Transformers G.I. Joe.
Okay.
Yeah,
I still haven't read that. I need to go buy that and read them because I hear they're ridiculous, which is fun.
They're nuts. Yeah. Okay, so
real quick, Gobots is good.
It wasn't as good, but it was still interesting. It tried to play it a little bit more straight. Okay, so Dum Dum Dugan, Nick Fury, Spider-Man all show up in issue 3 of the original Marvel book. Circuit Breaker starts showing up in issue 5 as Josie Beller, and then as Circuit Breaker in issue 9, and then she saves the Marvel Universe. She saves the Earth during Secret Wars 2. So she is a player and she had,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she interacted with the Beyonder and convinced him not to just snap the Earth out of existence.
Huh.
We can thank her for not blowing up or not having Earth blown up in 1985 or whenever Secret Wars 2 was. And she had her own Marvel Universe profile. She was listed as an active member of the Marvel Universe for years. So the fact that Marvel tries to downplay the involvement of the Transformers. Oh, and the Neonites. The Neonites, BlackRock's team from the late part of the Marvel run. Come to find out, when Furman was pitching what was going to happen to them after the Transformers series, the entire Transformers canon was a computer simulation, and they were supposed to be in a new book, which was also going to feature Deathlock, where it's a bunch of robot fighting dudes, and that book never got off the ground.
So Optimus Prime died due to a video game that was inside a simulation.
Yes.
Like I knew, like Death's Head has other comics and stuff, right?
But
he was created for Transformers, right?
He was snuck into an issue of Dragon's Claws to put him in the Marvel universe. He was snuck in somewhere publication-wise to get him as a Marvel property,
okay.
But he was created for Transformers, if that makes sense.
And then he went on to be his own thing.
Yep.
Well, there's a little more than just Spider-Man showing up on the cover.
Yeah. So at one point, David Vonner was the head of Marvel while I was there. For a good chunk of the time that I was there, rather. And we were going to do for BotCon the Marvel Legends Death's Head figure. Is that the Legends one, which is the 3 3/4 inch one?
Is it 3 3/4?
It's 3 3/4 ish.
Yeah.
It's like 4 inches. It's with the modern G.I. Joe scale. But yeah,
right, but whatever
Marvel,
that line
Marvel
is called.
Legends Universe.
I think at the time it was called Legends. So we were gonna do a Legend scale Death's Head in Transformers packaging for BotCon, and Hasbro was gonna sell it. But shortly
would it have
thereafter,
been in Marvel colors? Because like Transformers Marvel colors, because the one that we got was in the wrong colors.
We never even got that far because shortly thereafter, most of the Marvel team got axed, including Dave. So when I tried to present it to the new Marvel team, they're like, "What? No, we don't do Transformers."
Womp womp.
Okay.
But we're not doing Transformers tonight. We're doing Gobots.
So tonight, Gobots. So I hear that they're actually not robots; that they are cyborgs. Is that right? Technically.
Okay. The
We're about to get
Gobots.
school.
The Gobots are cyborgs. Yes.
Yes.
And Machine Robo are not. They are robots.
Are they robots or mechs
They are. Are we talking Gobots or Machine Robo?
Machine Robo.
Machine Robo are robots.
Okay.
There are a couple of mechs. There's a slug dude in a suit, but everyone else is a robot.
All right. Well, let's start at the beginning. So, Peter, give us the rundown. When did Machine Robo start? Because that came first, much like Diaclone.
If you let me get started, I will get started. So, here we go. In 1982,
because
Pop introduced.
we're gonna talk about
God
Gobots
damn you,
tonight.
Rick.
Seriously,
Where's Rick's mute button?
turn him off.
You know he's gonna do it.
You were saying, Peter.
You say so. Okay, in 1982, Poppy, a subsidiary of Bandai, released a series of small diecast transforming robot dudes, the Machine Robo line, and they were popular and they sold. They were 600 yen initially, and they did 54 of them at the 600 series. In 1983, Bandai absorbed Poppy, and Poppy was no more. And they reissued the first like dozen or so Machine Robo series figures, and then tried to sell them as Machine Men in America with the same names: Cycle Man, Tank Man, things like that, or Tank Robo, Cycle Robo.
So in Japan they came boxed.
Correct.
But in the U.S. they came carded on very generic cards.
Yeah, very, very generic cards. The initial ones, it just said like Machine Men 01 Cycle Robo, and it was Cycle and Cycle colors, and they came with a sticker sheet. The initial ones.
Before we move on too far, so was there any fiction at this point? Like, was there a packing comic even, or
there were the little foldouts to show you everyone that was available. That was about it.
There wasn't any manga, any comic strips.
Not yet.
Did then how many did you say with the initial? Was it 50, 60?
There were 54 between 1982 and 1986.
Okay, so that includes like all the repaints then as well, like in that numbering.
There were repaints.
There weren't.
There were.
Look, I know there were in Gobots.
In Gobots, there are some repaints. So okay,
I never know what I have either. Like I don't know if it's Machine Robo, Gobot.
What's what, and it's all in the copyright stamping, whether it says Poppy and what the years are and the countries where it was produced. And then there are box variants in Japan, and there were a couple figures like Shinkansen Robo, which is MR12, I believe, came in a blue deco and a green deco.
This one's a Machine Robo.
Which one?
My Turbo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says MR07 has Japanese stamping on it.
Oh, that doesn't mean anything.
Oh, it doesn't? No, it says Poppy.
Okay, if it has Poppy, then it's either a first release Gobot or a Machine Robo figure.
We lost Peter.
No, he didn't lose me. I've got a visual aid. Maybe. And then, so they came up with Scale Robo DX, which were larger figures. They all had kind of the same transformation. We knew them as the first wave of Super Gobots. And then when Machine Robo was really taking off, they made larger versions of some Machine Robo characters from the 600 series and called it Big Machine Robo. And that's Stax, Big Eagle Robo, Big Shuttle Robo, Big Cycle Robo. That's the second wave of Machine Super Gobots, that we've got in the States. So in 1983, Gobots were branded as Gobots in America, showing up. Here they are. And they were cheap. They were $3 a pop for the small ones and $10 a pop for the larger ones. Mostly unchanged. The names and the numbers were changed on the packaging. So Cycle Robo 01 became Cykill number 1 on the Gobots packaging. And then you go down the line and the numbers just go crazy. And
that's when the factions got introduced too.
And that's when, we got Guardians and Renegades. Initially it just said like friendly this and enemy that. But then they actually put the factions on. The cartoon started in September of 1984, Challenge of the Gobots by Hanna-Barbera. It's all the voices that you know from all the other properties from the 80s. And
it's one of those, a lot of people when they're new to Transformers, they think, oh, Gobots, those are Transformer knockoffs. And, the easy fun fact is always Gobots came first. Everything about it came first. The toys were first. The show was first. Mm-hmm. It was all first.
It's corrupted. That's further that idea, the notion that Gobots are knockoff Transformers, is furthered by the fact that I think it was Clerks 2. Someone said, Gobots, those are the Kmart Transformers. Those are the knockoffs, or something along those lines. And so, pop culture wise, they are fondly remembered as the inferior transforming robots.
It's definitely, we all know it. Like, your parents might get you a Transformer, but that uncle you only see at Christmas, who you're surprised even got you a gift, he gets you the Gobot. Because he's only going to spend a few bucks for you. you know, then you're like, yay, a toy, whatever, you know. It was definitely the cheaper alternative, especially for parents that have no clue what's going on, or anybody buying toys for kids that have no idea what's going on. You know, it seems close enough to me, and it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah,
You know,
my first Transforming Robots toys were Gobots. I was watching Transformers because the cartoon came out at the same time as the Gobots cartoon, same month, September of '84. And so I was, you know, $3 for a Gobot, and it turns into, it's a red car, dude. You like the red car, dude? Well, I wanted Transformers because I wanted what was on the screen, but I'm 4 years old, so what the hell do I care? So this is all the initial fiction that you got. You got a little Machine Robo pop out thing, and it shows
not
you,
fiction.
this is not fiction. This is just the catalog. So this is I'm saying this is as far as the fiction got for the first couple of years, because it's how far the numbers go. And then in 1985 they introduced the Machine Robo Devils, which were released in Japan that we didn't get here, and we got things here that they didn't get there. Almost the entire 86 assortment of Gobots 1986 were, if you look at the stamps, like you were looking at your turbo figure, it said MR07. Almost all the Gobots have that. It'll say MRD, MR, or MRT. The MRT designated ones, that's like treads and I don't know, the last year guys. The MRT ones were developed for Tonka, so it's Machine Robo Tonka, and they're based on rejected Machine Robo designs from Japan. Bandai was like, we're not releasing those. They're not up to snuff. The Americans will take them.
It kind of reminds me when, you know, like how when Transformers became a runaway hit out of nowhere, right? And they were just like, we need more things to release. So let's buy this Jetfire thing. Let's buy Omega Supreme. Let's buy, I think, Whirl. And,
Whirl and Roadbuster, the Deluxe Insecticons, Omega Supreme, Skylinks. Like they were just like licensing.
I didn't know about Skylinks.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? I wonder.
Toy Box, I believe.
I'm gonna have to was the original one of that differently colored or anything?
He wasn't. I think the original Skylinks was never released. It was something that they found, and they were like, we'll license that. Well, it's not coming out. Well, it's coming out over here. We'll release it.
Yeah. Okay, that's why I didn't know that one. Cool.
Yeah, that's why Skylinks didn't come out in Japan until the
reissue. Yep.
Edition.
Oh wow.
So, and then Gobots had a ton of ancillary stuff, like remote control stuff. Did Zod ever come out in Japan?
Zod did not. Okay, Zod was developed in-house in Tonka. The Gobot Guardian headquarters and Thruster Renegade headquarters were developed by Tonka in-house, and they didn't come out in Japan. They were released overseas, like in Europe as Robo Machine. So we've got Machine Robo in Japan, Gobots in the U.S. and Canada, Robo Machine in Europe and the UK and stuff, you know, and then Australia also had Machine Men, and each region got some deco variants and some gift sets that we didn't get here or in Japan. It's just it's a big crapshoot of stuff. Now,
so those gift sets are impossible.
They are.
They're usually like 3-packs.
There were gift sets of just like 3-packs of like three Guardians or 3 Renegades, but then there were also recolor gift packs. Like there was a Machine Men gift pack with stacks in Australia that came with 4 different recolors of small Gobots, like a different colored turbo and a different colored spoiler and a different colored, I want to say Tux, but I could be wrong there. And Stax himself was a recolor. In Europe, they had some of the monster guys were recolored differently, and some of the later jets were recolored differently. And then we had recolors in-house here. Leader 1 was released in 2 decos. Psykill was released in 2 decos. Crasher was in 2 decos. And each one of those... Dive was not officially released in 2 decos. Dive was only in 1 deco, but there are, and that opens up with the next thing, there were so many knockoffs of Machine Robo toys released in the States concurrently on cards with, like, you know, same aisle in the store. You're going to have a gray Dive and a blue Dive and a black Dive, but only one of them is the Gobots version of Dive. The other one is Robot Submarine.
The gray version of Dive, which is like, you can find it everywhere. That's a knockoff, huh?
That's a knockoff, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And in Machine Robo,
I
he
feel
was
like
only
that's kind of a
released in-
fascinating topic in general. Of I know, is that part of the reason why Transformers put the rub signs on? Was to deal with knockoffs and whatnot, but like I know that we have this whole knockoff. You talk about it with like high end knockoffs. With Transformers or like third party and whatnot, but it's like back then it just seems wild to me to go to a store and have a knockoff like right next to the regular figure.
That was happening not all that long ago. Like early 2000s, you could go into Big Lots and buy blatant Beast Wars knockoffs right there. G1 like, combiner set knockoffs.
Oh yeah, no, and you can still probably do that at like Dollar Tree, whatever, or something like that.
But it was just funny to me how that stuff gets to like mass U.S. retail. You go to Kroger and you see an Easter basket with some knockoff Transformers in it, and you're like,
Superion or something. And you're like,
like early 2000s, like you can buy like the Stunticons and Aerial Bots and like 2 Technobots, and then Constructicons everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, so Peter, I have a question. Zaldron mentioned in the chat that a weird purple jet McDonald's toy, which is actually...
That's Oddball. He's a Gobot.
That's actually Wendy's, right?
That's Wendy's, developed by Tonka for the Gobots line. There are versions of them with the Wendy's logo in the top left corner and versions without the Wendy's logo in the corner.
Okay.
There were 5 total, 1 coloring book, 1 activity book, some promotional pins, and the 5 figures themselves. And it was just the Wendy's Gobots.
I couldn't remember if they were actually Gobots or if they were branded as something else.
Yeah,
I got 2 of those carded, and I have no idea where I got them from. I got the easy ones to get, the car, the blue car, and then the purple jet.
Beamer and Oddball. Yeah.
So like, what I liked about Gobots, there was a couple things. They were all die cast. They had rubber wheels. All right. They were all pretty much the same size. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was great as a kid. They were all the same size. Then you had your Super Gobots, which were really big. And then you had your Zod type character. And who's the race car that was a monster?
Oh,
yeah.
I've got him.
I have one in the box, and me
too.
So I used to have a sealed one, but then I dropped it and the tape broke.
Scales.
And then Gobots had this awesome AT-AT. They had the command center, which was great. It was an AT-AT. That was I didn't have an AT-AT as a kid until like many years after Star Wars movies came out, where I got my cousin's hand-me-down. But that command center, that was my AT-AT. I would use that with my Star Wars figures. I would use that with my G.I. Joe figures. That was the greatest thing. And Transformers didn't have that. They had Metroplex and Trypticon, but those were characters. This was a dedicated ship. There was just like a fleet of them.
Like eventually Transformers had the Activity Command Center or whatever it is, the big cardboard thing you could build.
One, yeah.
But I don't know how popular or common that was, versus the Gobots AT-AT, you can still find a dime a dozen all over the place. Like it was very popular, easy to get.
It's tough to find it complete. It's also, you have to kind of piece it together, but
I don't know if mine's complete or not. Like it's got the ramp and it's got like a hose or two.
A couple of hoses. There's like a little fence thing, the elevator. Just make sure everything works, and then all the floors and stickers are always a problem.
One of them's a cafeteria, right? One of them's cafeteria, right, Peter?
I think so.
One says enemy scanner. There's a couple different things. Prison.
I want to back up to a comment you said there, Rick. I think it plays into Gobots being the knockoffs, right? The fact that and hear me out. The fact that they're all die cast and they have rubber tires means they are nowhere near as durable, like for heavy play. It would just like the first year or two of Transformers was the same way. Like, and after that, they become pretty much all plastic, right? And like you'll see a lot more beat up, Prowls and Optimus Primes than you will for Rodimus. Compare you can find plenty of them covered in dirt, right? You know what I mean? But I mean, I love diecast, I love rubber tires, but everybody loves the feel of that stuff, but it doesn't hold up as well. And I think that contributes to this, like, oh, well, I got some movie era Transformers that hold up a lot better than the smaller, cheaper, dinkier looking, GoBot toys. And
but they're stuffed up paint and
yes.
they're ripped off tires, and these are just shaky, janky turds now. And it's only 3 years after they came out.
So like this turbo I held up, it took me a long time to find a turbo that didn't suck. And I mean, I don't know, I think it was like $30 or something, which is expensive for a common GoBot, right? Like turbos are all over the place, but they're all scratched up, like heavily. None of them have tires, and they're all beat up. It just took me forever to find a turbo that I finally liked. And it's just because of that.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like the GoBots, and again, like, I haven't really looked at pricing recently, but I was able to get quite a few in pretty good condition, a number of years ago. And I feel like it's always those things where every dealer always seemed like they have a bucket of GoBots, like, at their booth or whatnot. Like, they're like, oh, you've got all the Transformers up front, and then they're like, oh yeah, in the back, like, we've got, oh, you want some of those GoBots? Like, there are, a couple bucks a pop in the back.
Cobwebs, but they're dark back there.
Right,
but they're crap when they're in the buckets, because they're going to be beat up. Right. They probably have a broken piece, and like, good luck with like getting Coptor with his parts. Like if it's in the bucket, right? Like, you have to find one that somebody has assembled and it's complete. And good luck they're not having chrome wear all over the little parts. Right. And lots of them have. I find GoBots much tougher to get, like, the guns and weapons if you want that versus Transformers. You can find it.
Dozer has a gun. Dozer comes with a gun, and it is this big.
Is that the red truck thing? Like,
no, he's like the orangey bulldozer guy. You just bend him over.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
And his gun is about, seriously, 4 millimeters long, and it looks just like a little silver stick. And you can hold it in his hand, or you can put it in as the
2 seconds
exhaust for his mode, his alternate mode. He also has a canopy that breaks really easily. It's plastic. And then Pumper is the one that Rob, I think, is going to get, the fire truck. He also has a tiny little gun that you can either put in his hand or put at the end of his. There you go. See, tiny gun. That's Pumper. And once that's gone and it's in the couch cushion or on the carpet,
vacuum at that point.
Mom vacuumed it up. Yeah.
Like,
so those things disappear.
I got most of my GoBots from a Transformer friend who had a bucket of them, but most of them were in decent condition, including the like Super Psy-Kill and the base and everything. And like, he sold it to me pretty cheap as well, but like a lot of them are really nice. And like, this one has the gun. It just happened to be stuck in its hand, and it was still stuck in his hand, right?
I had
so
no
it was
idea
a mix.
That GoBots had guns. Like,
not all of them. Not all of them.
No, not all of them do. Actually, I'd say most of them don't.
Yeah.
Right. Well, because wasn't that was the thing in the cartoon, right, where they would like shoot laser blasts out of their hands? So, like, that was one of the things. Because I don't know. I mean, Transformers are the same way. That the difference is that G1 Transformers are so ubiquitous that I don't know. Like, I feel like that parts
and the guns were bigger.
Whatnot have been a thing for so long that like a ton of people just have Transformers parts. Maybe I'm wrong, but like I just feel like every toy line outside of Transformers, I feel like is harder to piece together accessories than Transformers.
Well, everything has its corners that is tough. Like Ninja Turtles, some of the first years of stuff, easy. You can find Casey Jones weapons in like 5 different colors all day long, right? But you want Sandstorms parts, Half Quartz parts, metal Bebop parts. Like, good luck. You're gonna have to get that crap sealed, or get it complete and spend $200 on it.
Yeah, you're gonna pay through the nose on it. And I mean, you talked about Transformers toys being ubiquitous. Once the cartoons came out, I think a lot of mid-level kids, like 10-year-olds and stuff, once both cartoons were out and you saw the quality of this versus the quality of that, a lot of kids checked out on GoBots. They were like, this is nope. Transformers had a far superior cartoon.
Yeah. And I mean, I think as far as a toy, like, I think everybody here, maybe not Lucas, I don't know how he feels, but I think the rest of us really like GoBots. They're fun. They're cool. But like, there's more to Transformers. It being just that little bit larger makes it just more substantial, more real. It doesn't feel as toss aside. It's kind of like how I feel about like a Marvel Legends figure versus a 3 3/4. Right? Like 3 3/4 is too small for me. That's what she said. Yeah. Like,
I don't know. I don't look at it like that. I mean, I love GoBots, but I never looked at it like that. I just looked at it as like they're the same scale. They're supposed to be that size. They have their own flavor, their own style.
I don't know. I mean, I honestly kind of, as a kid, I had a lot more GoBots than I had Transformers. And the thing that was always frustrating for the Transformers, like, I didn't have an Optimus Prime back in the day. I didn't have a Megatron gun. Like, I mean, those just didn't, like, exist, by the time I was getting those and whatnot. But I did have a Leader 1 and a Psykill. And, I could get all the characters that I wanted to. And I think the other thing too is like since they were those like $3 impulse buys, it was a lot of times where we'd be out at the store and like my mom's not going to buy me the Transformer, like that's $20 or whatever it might be, like however much it was.
Yeah.
But like, oh, okay, well, we'll buy you a GoBot, sure, kind of deal. So I ended up with a lot more of those, but I felt like as a kid I could kind of world build a little bit more. What are the jet like mech things or whatever?
Power suits.
The power suits. Yeah, so like those were really cool too.
I forgot about those.
I had both of the power suits back in the day, and whatnot, and you could put all the characters inside of them and whatnot too.
Yeah.
So.
That was fun in that there was a chart on the back of the package for the individual power suits that would tell you which GoBots would fit in which suit. So any small GoBot could be a combiner of sorts.
Where did the power suit originate? Was it Machine Robo as well?
It was Machine Robo. There were two actually. We got Grungy and Courageous in the States, and they're the same mold, just redecoed. In Japan, they got two different molds. One of them was what became Grungy or Courageous, and the other one, it was called Land Commander 5, and that was supposed to be released in the States according to SuperToyArchive.com, Alex Pickmore's site. It's supposed to come out as Nemesis, but it never made it to the States. And each of the power suits was released twice in Japan, once in the early part of the line and once post 86. We need to talk about that in a sec. Both suits were released twice, and then there were other things that were released early and then again post 86.
And that's another thing that I think I remember that being bootlegged as well, right? Or at least the power suits, and not
the power suits were
not the center combiner.
It might have been. It really might have been.
And that's one of those things you can get them carded. There were gift sets.
Yep. And then there were variations on the gift sets, because if you bought it from Sears or JCPenney, they came in a different box. It was like a brown mailer box with just kind of the information on the package, or you get the fancy Kmart package where window box and pretty with the artwork.
I got the Sears Guardian Command Center in the brown box.
Exactly, yeah. That was also available in the brown box or the pretty art box. And both are desirable for, different reasons.
GoBots also had, I don't collect GoBots the way I collect Transformers. But whenever I see a GoBot I don't have, I try to get it. I'm always surprised. Oh, look, there's GoBot lunch boxes. There's GoBots party plates. I tend not to go for that stuff.
Yeah, they have plenty of merchandise.
Figures. But there was something Super GoBots I had always wanted, and it was the Super GoBots headquarters. Rob, you mentioned the activity center for Transformers, which was a cardboard set. You would open it up out of the box, and then you would actually use the box as part of the base, and you'd assemble these cardboard pieces produced by Warren.
Yeah.
GoBots had one as well for the Super GoBots, and it is amazing. And about 3 years ago, I was finally able to get one. It's complete. I think I paid like nothing for it. I paid like $100, I think, for it.
What's the name of it? GoBots what?
Super Gobots headquarters, or Super Gobots playset. I think it's headquarters though.
I think I have it right over here. Hang on.
And that's part of the thing that I like about Gobots. It's kind of similar to G2, where it's like not highly desirable by collectors necessarily, but it's like just kind of oddball stuff. So like whenever you're going to, TFCon or BotCon or just whatever convention there may be, like they've got like those little oddities on the shelf. And you're like, oh, hey, that's cool. I haven't seen that. Like, it
surprises me. Like, I feel like Transformers, like, yeah, there was tons of merchandising and like oddball stuff on the sides or whatever, but nothing that was like mainline, right? It was Transforming Robots mainline, but Gobots had a lot of stuff. Like you mentioned scales earlier. Like that thing doesn't look like anything else.
No,
like in the line, right? It's weird.
That was another one. It's in the main line, and that was another one that was developed by Tonka and just kind of. Oh, here comes Rick.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it's Super Gobots Guardian Headquarters.
There you go.
But yeah, like they have a lot of stuff that, like, when I was sometimes looking to like, oh, what's all the Gobots? I might make a list of what I want to collect or whatever. And I was like, oh, I don't want any of this crap. It's trash. Like, I think it's what I really want is the stuff that came from Machine Robo. Realistically. Yeah. It's like your meat and potatoes, right? Mm-hmm. I think if there are people out there that are still I feel like most Transformers fans don't dismiss Gobots anymore, right? Like I feel like we joke about it.
You're right. I mean, you say that, but if you go to a lot of Transformers boards and stuff on Facey Page, there it is.
Oh, that looks cool.
It's got ramps, elevators, like trapdoors, sliding doors, 22 interlocking durable wood board pieces with non-toxic colors. Fold up 24-inch square playmat. Movable locking elevator, 2-story vehicle ramp, space loader, escape device, built-in carry handle, 5 exciting Gobot headquarter rooms.
It looks terrible.
I like it.
It's completely dorky and dinky, but it is.
I don't know what you're talking about, Rob. That looks amazing to me.
I like the ramp. That's it. Like it's got this crappy map that looks like a shitty board game. Like, you remember when you were a kid and you would make your own board games in school? Like, you draw it out and you had to make up your own game and rules, and it was terrible. That's what that mat looks like. Like some
this
kid.
Is like every 80s playset, like before Castle Grayskull, was that kind of crap. What are you talking about?
And then I found something else. I keep forgetting about this, but Gobots had something else that Transformers didn't have. Not only did they have the power suits, which allowed pretty much every character to be a combiner of sorts, then they also had vehicles, like the Space Hawk.
Hang on, I've got one loose. I'll show you.
And then this, by the way, is the Super Gobots playset, which never came out, unfortunately. Never released.
So Anna wants to know if she missed the Gobots cartoon discussion. Yeah, Anna, we had it earlier. We pretty much just crapped on it, and that was
65 episodes.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it much. I mean,
no, not really.
Let's be real. Who really sits down and has watched the Gobots cartoon? Like, I assume Peter has, because Peter watches everything.
Yeah, I watched it.
It's hard to watch now, but yeah.
Like
my favorite episode is the one where they bring Turbo back to life.
Christian actually sent me the Rock Lords movie, and I lost interest really quick. Like, I left it on, but I was browsing on my phone a lot, right? Like, it was rough.
I really hope that Anna has the Rock Lords movie on DVD.
I'm pretty sure she does. Like, I think that's why Christian had it, was
like, he got that's it, right. Yeah, he digitized
and then
it. And
yeah,
we should have a watch party at the show.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Bring a pillow.
Watched it a couple weeks ago. I watch it pretty regularly.
We have who was the big star of that movie? Roddy McDowell.
We had Telly Savalas, Roddy McDowell, and Margot Kidder were the celebrity cast, and then Michael Nouri played, and he's like a character actor. He played Boulder, and then it was the regular Gobots cast. Arthur Burghardt and the dude from Deathstalker plays Psykill.
I talked about this a couple weeks ago when you were talking about the original Transformers movie, that, the Transformers movie had an increased production budget, and it showed a lot. Whereas like the Rock Lord's movie is just a long episode, exactly the same quality, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was like filmed in an afternoon in Burbank. They were just like, it's fine.
Yeah, and it was just, I think that was another thing that helped Transformers set apart. Like, I mean, even the main show, it depended on which studio was doing it, right? But like sometimes they got a really good studio, and then you'd get Carnage and C Minor, but then you get some really nice ones. Like, whoa, when it was done by Acom, it was really nice. It's just
Acom.
Call the Primitives.
See, I don't know who. Call of Primitives was done by Tokyo Movie Shinso. Okay, someone in the chat, Soulcraft, is jumping ahead. So in 85, 86, we got the movies. Transformers movie, Gobots movie. In 86, in Japan, they started a new cartoon. To this point, they'd only had a couple short mangas that were included with figures from the Machine Robot Devils line. This is from Machine Robot Devils.
Right, and they didn't get our cartoon, The Challenge of the Gobots.
They did not get Challenge of the Gobots because they took one look at that and said nope. So they got their own cartoon, and it was called Machine Robo Revenge of Kronos, and it introduced a whole new thing, a whole new story to these already established and already popular Machine Robo toys. And they reissued just about everything, issued a bunch of new stuff. There were reissues. We didn't talk about the double Machine Robo. They're kind of like Duocons, two vehicles that combine to form a single robot. There were three of those initially.
I know about those.
Yeah, there were three of those initially, and then they reissued the three, and then added three more. There's Helitanzer, Tank Transer, Jet Transer, Side Lancer, Double Jet, and Drill Heli. I've got three of those.
Did those not get Gobots releases then? I take it.
The first three got Robo Machine releases in like France and Belgium, but they did not get Go. And the later runs of them say Robo Machine Gobots, really small Gobots logo. So they were technically Gobots, but they were Robo Machine, so they were by Bandai, but I don't know, it's a mess.
How is Revenge of Kronos? Soulcraft was asking. I was wondering too. Like, is it decent?
It's excellent. It is.
Oh.
It is.
Like, not in a kitschy, terrible way. It's actually good.
It's actually good. Okay, so I was working at
quality is very good.
Yes, I was working at a video game store in the late '90s, and across the hall was Blockbuster Games. Remember when Blockbuster had like Blockbuster Music, Blockbuster Games, and Blockbuster Movies? They used to be that big. Yeah. So Blockbuster Games was across the hall, and I worked at Software Etc., which was owned by Babbage's, and then we were all bought up by EB Games, and then that became GameStop. So they were like the villains over there, and they had an anime section. We didn't have an anime section, so we cross pollinate and talk to each other. And this guy comes over, a friend of mine, and he's like, "Hey man, I got a new anime drop. You want to borrow it?" And I was like, "What do you got? What do you got?" And he's like, "I got okay. Check this out. Japanese Gobots." And I was like, "Not interested." And he's like, no, you should check it out. And he loaned me the tape. Machine Robo. Revenge of Kronos, Volume 1.
A tape is what we had before DVDs.
Correct. And I immediately fell in love with it. It had a Western feel to it. The animation was outstanding, and it was the Gobots toys I knew in an animation style. And it was subtitled, and it was hitting all of my buttons, and the music from it is fucking excellent.
And their character leads are different, so it's not led by leader one. Doesn't use any of the fiction, so their choices for who the stars of the show are wildly different than what we got in Gobots.
Yes, in Machine Robo Revenge of Kronos, the bad guys show up. They're sorry, my brain is farting. They show up to the planet of Kronos looking for something called the Hyrie-Bead. The Hyrie-Bead is an energy source that can grant eternal life, and the enemy leader Goddess, he wants it. So he sends
definitely sounds like anime.
So he sends the Gyandalar devils down to the planet Kronos to get the Hyrie-Bead. The Hyrie-Bead is being held by this dude who's like a Seiji master dude, and I'm blanking on names. I've been preparing for this for weeks. It's one of my favorite things, and I can't remember anything. So good for me.
Right.
Yeah. So that dude dies. First episode.
Spoilers.
First episode. And so it's up to his son, Ramstal, and his other students, Rod Drill and Blue Jet, who you might know from the Action Toys Machine Robo line, to defend the Hyrule and save the planet Kronos. And they wander around the planet and meet a bunch of friends and have adventures along the way. And they were released in a few different scales. The normal 600 series Machine Robo figures were re-released with new packaging. So you have your new version of Rod Drill and new version of Blue Jet, new version of all the 600, a good chunk of the 600 guys. And then they came out with like these character collection action figure. They're bigger. This is in bubble wrap. I don't know. You can't see that. But that's cool because I've got a second one and it's open. So this is Ramstal. And his sword is kind of hidden back behind there. And this is
they made some new toys to go with the fiction. But alongside the original, that's a lot bigger than a Gobot or a Machine Robo toy. Mm-hmm. He's like twice as tall.
This is the new version of Rod Drill.
Oh, that's way bigger. Yeah.
And I have a regular Rod Drill somewhere around here. But anyway,
does it transform?
This is not. It has limited articulation. You can, he has a sword you can hold. His elbows only bend inward, and his wrists don't move. So he's really, his knees move a little bit, but I don't want to, go crazy on him. And he comes with a sword. And then they did Ramstal and Rod Drill and then Blue Jet, who I don't have. And then they reissued all three of these same year with BB launching cannons.
Interesting.
Yeah. And these are the Chara Call or character collection versions.
So if I wanted to watch the show, can I get it on DVD or something like that, or is it on YouTube, or what's how do I watch the show?
And I assume it's only subtitled. I assume there's no dubs or anything.
You are in luck because there is a horribly sub Hong Kong version. It's the Japanese language, but it was dubbed by someone in Hong Kong in like 2010, and the subs are bad, but you can get that super cheap for like $20 for the whole series. And then there were three OVAs, and then a spin-off, which didn't go anywhere as far as the cartoon goes. But you can get all that stuff pretty cheap with bad subs. But if you want to wait, what was that? This noise.
Sorry, the pause didn't work. It is on YouTube with English dubs. Just FYI.
Okay.
If you wait a few months, give it till about February, March, the whole series, including all the OVAs, are being reissued on Blu-ray with new English subs.
Yeah. I will say that the quality of the one on YouTube that I watched 5 seconds of was actually it wasn't like a grainy VHS rip or whatever. It was nice video. So
there were 2 or 3 DVDs with the first 10, 12 episodes put out in 2000. I want to say 2008 or 9, something like that. Since I've had smartphone capabilities, I could play my own music or whatever. I have literally woken up to the battle song. It's like a Western strumming guitar thing. I've literally woken up to that every morning. That is my alarm. I wake up to Machine Robo every day. I'm a Transformers dude, but holy shit, Machine Robo. And then the toy line continued. There was another anime after that called Battle Hackers. It's its own thing. Great toys, short run. And then that died. And then there was a line called Winter Robo, 1987, and it was like racing cars that had a track, and you push a button and they kind of pop into robot mode. Not as much fun. And that was kind of the end of that. There are other figures. Tough Trailer.
Before we get into characters that have come back time and time again, we touched on it briefly. Challenge of the Gobots, Rock Lords movie.
Mm-hmm.
Rock Lords was a spin-off of Gobots. They were powerful living rocks.
And in Japan, they were Robot Supermen, a subline of Machine Robo's MRC Revenge of Kronos line.
And they are also
colors.
Available boxed and stuff. And they look box packaging so much nicer.
Yeah, boxes in style, like in styro in a box. They didn't get the Rock Pot vehicle. They didn't get some of the later figures. but they got the first 2 waves that we got, as well as the Stonewing vehicle and the Rockosaurus. They did not get Gnarlies. Gnarlies were Tonka development.
And yeah, if you go back to some old Ouch My Wallets, you can definitely see a lot of Rock Lords from me, including Fossilsaurus, which was, piece of de la resistance. Very happy about that and still super good. And I finally finished the Jewel Lords, missing a couple weapons. One of them has his weapon, the other 2 don't, but it's just, I'm not going to bother. Yeah, Rock Lords are awesome.
Rock Lords are awesome.
I
Simple
love
shapes
Rock
are fun.
Lords. I love them more than Gobots. What I love about those toys are, if you ever just take the toy and look at it, there is an incredible amount of detail into like the side panels and underneath, like where arms fold up. Like, no reason for detail to be there whatsoever, but it's there, and it's amazing that they got away with this in the mid '80s.
If you I think I went over this when I got like a big batch of them. A lot of them had the cards, like the character cards that used to be on the back of the packaging, right? And some kid had cut them out some year, but the pictures on that card are all from like early pre-production samples, and so there are a wide array of differences. Like, some are minor, but like Boulder's quite different. Like, pieces are solid, and where the other ones, like, they're hollow and checked out. Like, some of them are quite different. A lot of colors are different. And so it's just kind of one of those fun things to see. Okay.
Is that your little gnarly there?
He's not little. He's a chunk.
Peter, give us a rundown on what the gnarlies were for people who.
I hate the gnarlies. Just putting that out there.
Yeah,
I do not buy them.
The gnarlies. The gnarlies were a series of, I want to say, 9 different push action animals. They all had the same action, basically. Well, 8 of the 9 had the same action. You push them, and their tails and heads would go and bounce up and down. And there was
they had fuzzy hair all over them.
Yeah, they were fuzzy.
It felt like a response to Trolls, but I don't know which one came first.
The original Treasure Trolls were way first. I don't even know who thought this was a good idea. They decided that Rock Lords needed pets for their one animated outing. I'm sure there was a spinoff. They wanted it to be a full thing, but that didn't happen.
I thought it was the coolest thing that here you have basically, in my head as a kid, they were Transformers, but you had a transforming figure that had a pet. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. I love the gnarlies.
If they were interesting toys, sure. Like, I'm down with the concept, but it needs to be a little transforming pet. It's got like a little MicroMaster pet or something, cool.
Or do something relating to rocks.
They're organic. They're not
like
they're
the
not
Eggbots,
something, yeah. And then there was the Snarly Gnarly, which is about 3 times as big as a regular Gnarly, and you push the button, or you click the button underneath, and it goes and drives around and goes and makes faces and stuff. Those were the Gnarlies, and then Gobots died.
Acquired about 2 years ago. I didn't know it existed, and then somebody's like, "Hey, do you want to buy this?" I'm like, "Oh, that looks familiar. What is that?" I ended up getting it.
The Snarly Gnarly is one that I'm still missing. I think that's the only actual figure I'm missing now from Rock Lords. Yeah. No. Gnarly Line. I need Gnarly Line and Snarly Gnarly, and then I'm done.
I still need a Spearhead.
You do? Ooh, yeah. We got to talk on the side. I told you I got another Spearhead. So not the one that's
forgot about it.
Yeah. We've both been distracted.
Yeah, I'm missing the Jewel Lords and Rockosaurus.
Okay. I've got a loose Rockosaurus upstairs. My boxed one is coming, I think. Rob has one. Yeah, hopefully it's in the mail. And then like Machine Robo did other stuff that was interesting. Like this is Tank Transer. He's a tank and a flatbed truck that combine to form a dude.
Oh, so that's one of those.
Oh,
that's
cool.
This is Jet Tanzer.
Got the flag of Japan on him.
Yep. And so he's a flatbed truck. And a jet.
He's definitely a flatbed truck.
It's transformed. And this is Helitanzer. He's cool. a Cobra Chopper, and then an armored carrier that combine and transform. And these guys all showed up. The way the Machine Robo Revenge of Kronos cartoon worked is the main 5 characters. It was Romstall, Rod Drill, Blue Jet, Lena Stoll, which is Rom's sister, and then Triple Jim. Triple Jim, I have a loose one upstairs. I'll go grab him in a sec. They wandered around and they would meet all these different characters. They met Tank Transer, they met Turbo, they met Psykill, and they just they weren't like, later in the series, some people are recurring, some characters are recurring, but a lot of them were just like, hey, there's that Gobot, Hey, there's that one, That's neat. And that series aired in France as the second season of Challenge of the Gobots.
Well,
so
that makes no sense.
Makes no sense. So if you watch it, season 1 into season 2, the whole thing seems like Psykill's redemption arc. Because toward the end of Revenge of Kronos, Cycleman or Cycle Robo, like he's there all the time helping out Romstall and those guys fight the bad guys. So it's like Cycle starts out as a jerk, then they have Rock Lords, and then moving on.
So those were dubbed, I assume, in French. So I'm wondering if they kept the same voice actors from season 1 to season 2.
I think they did, yeah.
I mean, I thought it was bad enough with in America where we tried to make the Unicron trilogy the Unicron trilogy. Those shows had nothing to do with one another, right? And they just tried to kind of ham-fist it into like a bigger universe, and it did not work, right? But like that's even worse. That's just that's crappy, cheap, churned out American cartoon plus Japanese anime where they care about what they're doing. That's just worlds apart.
So Peter, can you give us the rundown on what are the rarest figures?
Well, we've mentioned Fossilsaurus a couple times. There are a few playsets that are a little bit harder to find, but the rarest machine Robo toys I would say are Gutisaur, which is Fossilsaurus. If you can find Fossilsaurus in his European packaging in English or French or Dutch, holy shit, that thing, hard to find. Tough Trailer, Pro Truck Racer, Triple Jim in the box, and Triple Jim has everyone has a lot of parts. Helicopter blades, BBs. They use BBs so much, little pellety things. I'll grab my Pro Truck Racer in a sec and my Triple Jim. But yeah, those are all hard to find. And then some of the Battle Hacker stuff is hard to find. And then there were a couple series that came out after that. In '92 there was Changing Glow, and there were 13 or 14 of those. No one knows about that. I saw some in a like a Japanese type. It was just a market that I found myself at. What the hell are these? And I put them back. Didn't think anything of it until years later. And it's like, well, farts. 13-year-old me should have had money or something. And then there were, they had Gashapon figures. Those are hard to find. Those are really hard to find. Land Commander 5 is hard to find in the box. But as far as like the machine Robo, like little, and I guess the 600 series has some things that were released in Japan that weren't released here. They've got this guy who's a Mini Cooper.
Ringo.
Oh, that's fun.
And then they had a couple of Trainbot dudes, Shinkansen Robo, New Shinkansen Robo. There was a double-decker bus, and then Apollo Robo. There's a MR747, which was only released if you flew Japan Air for a certain window of time.
Oh wow!
And they gave it out as a promo. So some kids opened it, some kids didn't. You can find those occasionally. They run typically $600 to $1,000. Some U.S. sellers will push $1,500, and they're wrong. What else?
What I'm gathering from this is that there are a lot of rare ones. Like there's a lot of hard to find stuff that is not like it's hard to even find information about, much less if you find it.
Right.
And then the person that's selling it has to know what it is. If they know what it is, they're probably just going to put some ridiculous price tag on it because they know they own the market.
Yeah. I mean, and then there are other things where like the combat robos. These are shell formers, basically. They're an action figure that's like wrestling robo and kendo robo, but all they are is an action figure in like a shell. That folds around him, and these came out a year before the Pretenders. And this guy has a swastika on his chest.
I was about to point that out. That's not so great.
It's not so great. It's pointing the other way though, so it's like the Zen version. And that figure,
I would just pick something
shattered
else.
glass version.
Yeah, so that one,
yin and yang or something maybe.
That guy was released twice.
For Gobots, what is the rarest, hardest to find Gobot?
That would be Tailpipe. That's Tailpipe. He was released in black and red in Europe and the States. And then there's also Snoop, who was released overseas as well as their carded versions. I don't have a Machine Robo Snoop. Or I'm sorry, Blackbird
Yeah, I've
Robo.
never seen Tailpipe. Which, I mean, it makes sense, right? He's rare.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's a... So you said, is this red version a mistake, or is that just a different color of Tailpipe?
Yeah. The red version is the MR version. He was released in black too in the States and overseas, but the Japanese version is red. So
Black version looks cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. But this is another one. I mean, they all have rubber tires, and they're all... I mean, you got to take care of them.
One thing I think is interesting. Hey, Rob, you're like on mute.
Yeah, sorry. We're an hour into it. I got to interrupt because we haven't talked about it yet, and we have to talk about the Gobot combiners. We haven't
talked about Puzzler yet or Monstructor.
So like, that's always been one of my favorite things about Gobots, and when people talk about it versus Transformers, I think I've mentioned before how like I hate G1 Devastator. I love G1 Devastator, but I also hate G1 Devastator. I think it's crap. Again, I love it. I have way too much nostalgia for that thing, like a lot of us do. Like, remember trying to get all 6. You know, that was a challenge for me as a kid. But it's just a bunch of extra parts to put on there, and it's just dinky, and I just think it's terrible. Versus, you know, this dude who I think he looks cool even today. I like his proportions. I like how he looks. It's an all-in-one combiner, which, I mean, okay, yeah, sure. That's a hand and an arm, you know, and it doesn't peg together. So there's some weaker aspects, sure. But overall, it looks cool. You're not going to lose any parts unless what you break, right? He combines in pretty simple ways. It's not too tough. Oh, look at that. Is that
so
different?
You know,
it's awesome.
Comparing the Gobot combiners to Devastator, yeah, Devastator didn't have a lot of play value as a kid. His arms move up and down, and he would fall apart if you tried to move him. But I mean, Puzzler fell apart too. I mean, you try and move him, and that there's like no waist connection there.
But Puzzler's awesome though. It's still more interesting engineering, and again, you don't have to worry about losing all the pieces, which make it, or even one piece, and now it's like, oh, he doesn't have a fist anymore. I guess he's done. I lost part of the green hip piece or whatever, you know, that makes it actually combine. You know, it's a lot. I think it was a lot harder as a kid to enjoy those because it was so easy to lose stuff. You go play within the sandbox or whatever, and it's like, oh well, this toy's fucked now. I finally got all 6 and I lost this piece, right?
I feel like trying to collect Puzzler as a kid was a lot harder than collecting any Transformer combiner. Like, I don't remember being
I didn't hit stores up as a kid, you know, when I was 4 trying to buy stuff, so I can't say.
I didn't have Puzzler as a kid, but like I do think that I agree with you that it's a better combiner in my opinion than a lot of the G1 combiners personally.
Which I mean,
like you
I think
said,
Devastator's notably bad, right? Then after that they went Scramble City and they're all exactly the same. Right. You know, then they all go together fine and whatever, but they still, you know, you lose a part and you lost a foot, well, might as well take off the other foot so it'll stand. You know. Whereas I don't know, I just find these just much more interesting, and you know, the robots are all rectangles. You know, they feel more creative. But you know, they also, as far as I know, only have the 2. You know, there's Monster Dude and Puzzler. And the problem with both of these sets is the same problem that I mentioned earlier, but I feel like with all GoBots is they're all so beat up. Like, overall, it's like I think you can go find good Transformer combiners. Yeah, there's some beat up, but you can find good ones, you know, without too much digging. Like, if you want a good Puzzler, like, you probably want to find a gift set, right, that somebody didn't play with. Because it is all die cast and chrome and rubber tires, it's so much more susceptible to wear. And the one downside of Puzzler, the police lights are often broke.
Almost
and,
always broken.
And you need that to make it sit. I mean, it'll sit on there. Mine's broken, but it sits on there fine, right? But I know it's broken. You know, they're so often broken. So it's,
or they're chipped.
Yeah. But the engineering is cool. I find them I find them people that are disparaging towards GoBots. I think they underrate the engineering that is in the line, because it has a lot of cool engineering, a lot of interesting things like Scooter. Again, I don't know them. Well, actually, the machine rumor numbers. He's a higher number. I was looking at it earlier.
He's 16.
What?
He's 16.
Was it just 16?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I knew you were right, but I think I saw it wrong earlier. But like, this is pretty unique. I mean, Transformers had plenty of unique transformations too, but I mean, he's a little scooter. That's cool. You don't see stuff like that.
I think again at the price point, I think that's the thing is that the level of detail and all that of the figures was pretty cool for the price. So
there's a lot of little parts in this dude. Like, he's not. It's not a MicroMaster level of transformation. It's way more than that.
Well, even that, he's not Windcharger. He's the same price as Windcharger, and you get a lot more bang for your buck with him than you do with Gears, Windcharger. Yeah, the GoBots at that price point were way better than almost all of the mini-bots.
I feel kind of where I like the little ones, right? But I feel like they kind of lost their way when we got the big ones like.
Yeah, the Super GoBots I don't think were as good.
Like, what the hell is this? Like, I mean, we know that most of us know that Diaclone was originally meant to be piloted mechs,
right?
And it's in the first, like the 84 line, like it's very obvious, like, oh yeah, there's a little thing there, put a thing there. It's why Ironhide doesn't have a face, because he didn't need one, prep like that. But this is how it was made, and it was always made to be its own thing, as far as I'm aware. And it's just what made, and this one that we got a lot of variations on this style, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is bad. This is where GoBots was not good, in my opinion.
Right.
Like,
but there's something classic about that. Like, I remember playing with that
classic because they're so terrible,
and just thinking
it's very
this is
alien.
the coolest looking car in the world, and I love the way it transforms. It's so easy to transform.
The only thing I find interesting about the like 3 or 4 that look much like this, it was like Bug Bite was I think one of the more common ones is.
Wow.
GoBot
very cool.
It's like, it kind of reminded me of the Bay movies, in just that they look alien. They look very alien, like the Bay movies did, in their own way, right? The Super GoBots, at least, not the little ones. But the actual, like the Super Psykill and the Super Leader 1 are actually great, because they're like just Transformers at this point. Right. They're just as big. They got the die cast. The transformations are good, and I feel like if they had started out at this line, and probably had a little bit better of a cartoon, obviously, like they would, I think, been a real force to contend. If they had all been like this and like Super Psykill, but they weren't.
The fiction really hurt them. They didn't have a comic book like Transformers did. They had coloring books and crayons and card games and board games and all the normal merch that you see, but the cartoon was, despite, there were some fun episodes writing wise, but it always looked so clunky, and the voice acting was always top notch. That's something I will give it. It was consistent animation, but it was consistently
something that always bothered me were the yellow teeth, like bright yellow teeth, like. Brush
Smoking's
your
bad.
Teeth, dude. Brush your goddamn teeth.
And I also want to know, for anybody that does like modern GoBots, Action 52 has been doing a machine Robo rebirth for many years now. Although we've only gotten like one release in the past couple of years.
I think it's 12 figures total since 2015.
I was honestly shocked that they have come out
I haven't
with,
counted.
You're talking about the Action Toys figures, right?
But again, and it's important to note that they are machine Robo inspired. Yeah. But if you're a GoBots fan, you will like them as well. I find the line really inconsistent, though. Like the first couple, I find really kind of tedious and hard on the fingers, and then like there's a lot of them that are just super excellent, though. They're a lot of fun. And then they did Super Psykill, that is just amazing. If you like Psykill, you want this figure. It's super fun. It's really well made. And then their last release, Tough Trailer, I like it, but it is a notable step down in quality. Like it's still cool, but it is very different. So they've been on hiatus for so long. I feel like they just eked that out even, you know.
Tough Trailer's an interesting one. His pedigree is weird because do you know what he's based on? A lot of the, since they were made by Puppy and Bandai, a number of the weird ancillary things for Machine Robo were sourced from other toy lines. Like the Baikon Fu set is a retool of the Gordian set, which came out in it was released in the States in Godaiken at one point, but it was, you know, a Bandai piece. Tough Trailer and his eventual retool Pro Truck Racer are themselves retools of Flash Titan, which is a figure from a Super Sentai series from like 1984.
Very incestuous.
Yeah. So if you got to get the Flash Titan, which is red, and combines with this trailer to form, you know, Big Flash Titan, and then you got to get Tough Trailer, who is blue, and he has a trailer that opens up like Optimus Prime's trailer and has a little repair bay and guns and stuff, and it's way better than Optimus Prime. And then you have Pro Truck Racer, who came with a big cannon BB gun thing and like chrome armor, and he just looks really he's black. So you've got a red one, a blue one, and a black one, each one with different like hits.
I feel like when you get into the Japanese side of transforming robots, you never end. It's really like, you know, Peter could keep going for probably another couple hours on how this stuff just kept spiraling and this into this and this. In America, it was just like, well, you got Gobots and you got Transformers, right. You know, and that's the brand. It's much more restricted, and there's plenty of little minor, you know, rabbit holes to go down there as
Galaxy
well.
But
nothing like Shockwave.
So one thing I was gonna say about that Action Toys line that was somewhat frustrating. So at the larger scale, we got the Cykill, but then we never got anything else. Like I would have loved if they would have just done a Leader 1 with that, just to go sit opposite of it and whatnot. And then
the way they just kind of died off, I wonder, like were sales bad, or because I've heard they were related to Make Toys.
They were.
And Make Toys has been struggling. Yeah. And I don't know if it was just all of that together, which that was also part of Moss Toys was involved with that. Well, that hurt Make Toys. Right. And it's like, how much did that take down? And how much did that impact?
You can tell that the designers are the same guys that were doing the Make Toys and Fans Project, and like it came out.
The designers are on the boxes of the Action Toys.
It came from the same factories and whatnot too. Like you can just tell, like if you hold those figures next to those older Fans Project and whatnot, like you can tell that there's like it's similar, you know, kind of thing. So like I would highly recommend all of them.
So some of the boxes of the, like they all say what the designer is on them, and so some of them say like Jizai Toys, and Jizai did the Function X line, like he did all of those, which was really well known, or it was well known that he did it, you know. And most of his transformations are always awesome, but there's some earlier designers on some of those that and in the middle that aren't as fun, you know. And they all come with all the display based stuff, which I wish they would just cut out. I don't need more of that. Like I get they're being consistent.
I don't know how much that actually added to the cost. I don't know. Like, cause
I'm not even saying that. I just don't want to deal with it.
It doesn't need to go with Machine Robo. That's the thing, is the display-based stuff has nothing. You could use that with your Diaclone Reboot stuff. Just move it over there, put it on those shelves.
Right, but yeah, all of those toys I think were like $40 or something like that. I think the newer ones,
not the bigger ones,
more.
But yeah.
Yeah, I meant the smaller. The smaller figures and whatnot. So, and I think you can still find some of them, but like, again, what frustrated me is they showed off a Turbo, or in whatever the Machine Robo name is, or whatever.
Yeah.
They showed that off in 2016. Like I remember seeing that at TFCon, right? And it was supposed to come in the next wave, and then it never came. And so like Loco came out, like I don't know, a year ago, somewhere, whatever. But we still haven't seen Turbo, and so that's the thing that kind of frustrates me.
Supercar Robo.
I'm really hoping that, like, because it's like I just want that one figure. If I could just get that and be done, and then.
But then you'll need a scooter.
And a scooter, we need a crasher,
and a copter.
So this guy.
Yeah, I knew what Rick was doing. I knew Rick had the early prototypes. I was like, he's over there driving them.
Damn you, Rick! You're like the one that has the copy.
And then there's this guy.
This Project Racer
came out.
This one came out?
Yeah.
No.
Wait.
That one
has more dribbles on it.
That's Pro Truck Racer. Tough Trailer's the one that came out. Pro Truck Racer has the spoiler, the helmet, and all the extra greebles.
All right. Did this guy come out?
No.
Who's that?
I don't know who that is, but no. Unless I've missed it.
I can't tell who that is.
Like they've really like Tough Trailer is the only thing they've released in like 2 years.
This is Flatbed and Jet Guy.
Oh, Jet Transer. Yeah, they haven't released that now.
So they have they showed
that came out.
They put him out, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all come with a bunch of different weapons and stuff and choo choo.
Loco is awesome. Loco is one of the top tier ones.
Were they supposed to do a Crasher too, or no?
I don't think I ever saw a Crasher prototype from them.
I never saw a Crasher prototype.
And because it's coming out of Machine Robo, I don't know which characters are popular in Machine Robo. And for all I know, the Crasher mold means nothing to Machine Robo fans, right? I don't know what number it is or anything. So
Porsche Robo, and then it only came out in white in Japan. It did come out in Best 5 in a different deco. Best 5 was a series of 5 packs. It was 3 or 4 different 5 packs, and each one had 600 figure series in different decos. That's pretty cool. They need to do this guy in the new line.
Well, I think they need to do anything in the new line, and I don't think they're going to.
Did this guy come out?
I don't think so. No.
He didn't come out in the GoBots line. No.
It just came off. Oh,
that's the for the listeners. Rick's holding up a transformer.
The turbo you have, is that like a production sample, or is it painted resin or whatever?
This is a production sample.
So that one got pretty close to being done then.
Yeah. This is like plastic and die cast molded in the colors it's supposed to be. Yeah,
if you want to send that to me, Rick, rough. You're welcome to send that to me anytime you want.
You know what? The reason I have these Moz Toys sent these to me, saying, "Hey, can I have something sent to your house?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sure," because he was living in Hong Kong or Thailand or wherever the hell he was. And I get it, and I open the box, and it's all these protos. I'm like, "Oh, okay. How are you involved in these? How did you get involved in these?" And then he did a Kickstarter for some Seeker prototypes.
It stole $600 from Lucas.
And he kept my money. Yeah, I sent him money too. And he kept it, so I keep these. And if anyone comes looking for them, then they can pay me my money back in interest.
So I didn't get prototypes in return, so...
No one else did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not worth $600, but at least it's something, right?
It's worth $600 to somebody.
Now Make Toys, Moss, and Action, all that stuff just went down together. And Make Toys has tried to come out of it, but then they've had issues and said, I don't think we're gonna get anything else from Action 52 Toys or whatever it was. It's confusing because there's a 52 Toys that does Beast Box. So is this just Action Toys? Is that what it is? No 52?
I believe it's Action Toys. As far as I know. So, but as far as the regular GoBots, I don't know that we're ever going to see GoBots re-released, and the reason for that is we've kind of alluded to this, that there's craziness with licensing because the figures were licensed from Bandai, and Bandai is a competitor and whatnot these days to Takara. We're probably never going to see it because Hasbro. So Tonka was bought out by Kenner, right?
I think Tonka bought.
Or did Tonka buy Kenner?
Tonka was bought by Kenner, and then Kenner was absorbed by Hasbro.
And so Hasbro technically owns the GoBots,
they own
Hasbro.
Hasbro could make new GoBots figures.
Correct.
Reissuing the old stuff, maybe not.
They can't reissue the old toys because they don't own the tooling, right. But they own the names. They own Guardians, they own Renegades, they own Leader 1 and Psykill, and the name GoBots.
If they wanted to put out a new Psykill that was a new design, they could do that.
Yeah, they could put out a motorcycle that happens to be similar or whatnot. So, if they wanted to, but I don't know at this point, like how much interest there is outside of 40-year-old people like us.
That's.
I mean, the thing is, if you want a good cycle, if you want a good cycle, you buy.
That's what it's going to be. Gobots.
It's going to be the Guardian, or the base. It's going to be the next.
It's just a retooled AT-AT. That's all.
Yeah, if you want a good cycle, you go get Action Toys Deluxe Cycle.
That one actually has the cycle face, though, right?
The initial
release.
Have cycle. Yeah, there were 2 releases. The initial face had the cycle face. The second one did not. I think it was pre-orders only. Got the cartoon cycle face with the.
I think they struggled a little with that line just because, it's a Machine Robo line, but they knew stateside people are buying it for Gobots because that's what we know. Right. And like other than that, none of the rest has anything like even hinting that Gobots exist really. Like definitely not the character selection, right? Because they didn't do a Crasher, which if they did it, they'd probably have to do it in white because it's Machine Robo, knowing that half their customers or more or whatever want the black version. So they probably maybe that's why they just punted on it. I don't know.
They would want the black version with the crazy face, not the just plate face. Yeah.
And we'd have to get a scooter, and not a cycle. So
and a small foot.
Like I wonder how it would be if they started off.
That?
It's Rescue.
There you go.
Or I wonder how it would be if
Robo.
If they had instead started off with the more Gobot centric characters, even if it was Machine Robo, and that maybe the line would have done better. But alas. There's nothing new showing up on the store, so I don't know. I would stick with my guess that they are completely dead. But
pretty much. But yeah. So I don't know. I mean, we said that Hasbro had has like redone Gobots, like some of the names and whatnot to keep up the trademarks, right? I think they have some like kids' toys and whatnot that have used Gobots. Is that right, Rick?
Yes, and there was some G2 characters called Gobots.
There was a G2 character specifically named Gobots. He was one of the water dudes, and yeah.
And then, of course, my understanding from Aaron was that they only did that not to secure the name, but as a fuck you.
Well, there you go.
So, but either way, when I was there, one of the things that came up a lot through BotCon was at the end of BotCon you could fill out like a questionnaire and stuff, and people said, "I want a Gobots set. I want a Gobot set," and Hasbro's stance was, "That's not Transformers. We're not going to celebrate someone else's brand at our convention."
That's a dumb stance. That's a short-sighted marketing stance that doesn't get like.
No, I think that's.
We make 2,000. You make like 2,000 of these. It's not going into Walmart, right?
Yeah, but think about when you talk to the press. It's like, okay, who are these characters? Who are they celebrating? Well, actually, these characters are celebrating a line that was made by a different company in the 80s. How do you talk to the press about it? When you're trying to market
press. Like CNN doesn't give a fuck about the BotCon toys. And let's be real too. Like we're talking about like 6 figures, right? Like the 3 main Renegade, the 3 main Guardians. That you do is recolors and you slap some other name. Did the press care about G2 Optimus Prime, like the green tank or? What, like no, because there's no.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but you gotta. I'm just saying from their point of view, this is how they look at it.
You give it a different name. Their brand. Don't tell them that
they're investing thousands of dollars in this convention. They want stuff that's brand centric to them.
You just don't tell them. You just do it. You don't put the name Cycle on there. It's Groove, Shatterglass Groove. Psycho colors. That's how you get away with it. I mean, that's what Shattered Glass, at least from a toy standpoint, that's half of what it did. Was, another avenue to give a lot of repaints that.
You're muted. You disappeared.
How did you manage to mute yourself?
The cat nudged the mute button. He's ready for his food, and he's getting very ornery. Yes, kitty cat.
but you're right. Shattered Glass functioned to repurpose a lot of things that had no fiction attached to them.
Yeah.
And
E-Hobby stuff and Jazz was like straight up G1 Jazz for the most part, right? Like you could have easily put some GoBot homages for the main 6 and nobody been the wiser. Fight me IRL. Actually don't, I'm old and fat, but
yeah, Rick, why didn't you do that?
Yeah, Rick.
There's a lot more that goes into presenting what the set's going to be to Hasbro than I think you guys realize, but that's...
No, I understand at least I'm underplaying it just to be a bit facetious.
Right. We're just...
I've heard a lot about, like, how many sets y'all got rejected, and then, like, how many molds get rejected, even though the set, or the times when Hasbro dictates the set. They're like, no, you're doing animated this year, so that we never...
No, they've never dictated the set. Never. That's not true. Hasbro never once dictated a set.
I feel like we've heard that from, certain people that you're not a fan of, that happened a couple times. Like animated
at Hasbro, I can tell you, I working at Fun Pub and working at Hasbro never dictated a set. They never once said, you have to do animated. No. Never.
Maybe what the story then was just that, okay, you can do animated, but this is the last time because we want to move on from it. Maybe that's what it was. Like if you're going to do it, you do it now.
They liked animated because animated was something that they weren't ever going to do. So there wasn't a chance. Like the problem was, it was that Shattered Glass Jazz. That's where some of the animosity came from Hasbro, because they saw that as a Generations Jazz, and we were kind of screwing them by doing it in like almost straight up G1 Jazz colors, taking kind of like the 1-2 punch out of them doing a Generations Jazz.
Well, Hasbro
took it out of the fact that animated was in the works, because they weren't ever going to do that again. They were never going to put that out again. So it's like, use all the molds you want. Use all the animated molds you want. The only ones that were off limits were the exclusive molds to Takara, because then Hasbro would have had to retroactively play royalties towards that.
Well, Hasbro got the last laugh when they ended up releasing all the Seekers at retail anyways. And Fun Pub sets were never as popular again, because people are like, well, the real good stuff's going to come out at retail anyways later.
Look at it from Brian. That's true. You look at it from Brian's point of view, because I was like, that sucks that they're going to make our figures go down in value. Brian's point of view was, so what? I already sold the figures. I can't sell them again. I can't resell them. When someone sells them, they get the money, not me. So I don't care what Hasbro does.
A bit short-sighted. I mean, I understand the point, but I mean, it obviously impacted future sets when, and it makes them to not want to do as much desirable stuff. I remember a few years after that somebody from Fun Pub saying, we don't, like, somebody had asked, like, hey, why don't you do like some G1 character, right? And they're like, well, you know what? We feel that's Hasbro's job. And like, so I feel
Hasbro would say, well, that's a character we could potentially do ourselves. So stay away from that one. So like the first figure they wanted to do for the subscription service, I think, was a blue streak or silver blue streak, whatever it was, out of that chug mold.
Didn't Fun Pub end up doing a blue streak?
They did.
Out of the Combiner Wars.
Combiner Wars, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But that chug mold, and Hasbro said, it was Greg who said, that seems like something we can do as an exclusive somewhere at Target or something. So no, you guys can't have that.
And then they did, though.
And then
later.
Yeah, out of a different mold.
Yeah.
One that was not as good.
So that's gotta be frustrating. Yeah, sorry. We got off topic here.
Yeah. So Gobots, what final thoughts do we have on Gobots, or is there anything that we have not covered yet?
Gobots are fun. Give them a chance. Pick them up, sit down, play with them, play with yourself, and enjoy. Explore. Don't be afraid to explore. Don't be afraid to want a new experience, and try it with a friend. Try exploring with a friend. Try playing with GoBots by yourself, but with a friend.
To steer it back a little bit to more sane. If you take anything from the show, it's that GoBots have a lot of gems in there. And if you're like, hey, what toy should I buy? I think Monstrous Puzzler, get some Rock Lords. I'd say Fossil Source, but that's not realistic. And I think Scooter is really neat as well. But yeah, dive in. Like, a lot of them are dinky and not so great, but a lot of them are really cool and different, and they look nice, and they're cool looking robots. So don't count them out. And the Action Toys Deluxe.
I think like as display pieces, you get the sorry, what was the playset again? I just blanked on the name. Command Center. You get a Command Center, and then you can use that as a display. You can put figures inside because, like, when it opens up and whatnot, you can put the figures inside. And so I don't know, it's a lot of fun, and the power suits are really neat as well, and not that hard to find. So I think they actually make for a pretty good display.
Which gets to Rick's point earlier too, that the fact that they all are the same height makes them pretty easy to display. Get some stair risers as well, and everything lines up pretty well.
Yeah, right. And they're die cast.
Yeah, so if you can find them in good condition.
Peter sneezing. And you can get Transformers has a Rector, but GoBots has that GIF with the one that looks like a big Wayne crank going up and down that I'm sure y'all have seen. Yeah, that's a Machine Robo toy, which is cool, and I actually have positioned that way because I'm a child. But you can get that too. That's fun.
GoBots are great. They are varied in presentation, varied in transformation, high quality little metal dudes with rubber tires. They have fun engineering. And they like it's been said, they display great. If you want to jump into the Machine Robo side of things, there's a lot more you can do in addition to your GoBots. I've got a near full set of GoBots. I've got a near full set of pre-Chronos Machine Robo, including the play sets and the cassettes and cards and stuff, calendars, magazines. I don't even know. So yeah, it's and then there's stuff it's just all over the place. And there's like Machine Robo Rescue, which got a little bit of a release, a little bit of exposure in America starting around 2003, and that's more kid centric as far as the cartoon is concerned, but the toys are fun. Yeah, fun engineering. If you like Bandai type engineering, it's like a cross, but engineering wise, it's like a cross between Transformers and Power Rangers. Somewhere in the middle there, and it's a lot of fun. Bonus points. Last week, for those who watched the show last week, I said I picked up a figure that was what I believe to be the first Optimus Prime figure released in Japan. Not Convoy, Optimus Prime. Do we know what that is?
The first figure released as Optimus Prime and not Convoy?
Correct.
So I'm guessing it's obviously not the normal Optimus Prime then, because that would be uninteresting.
Is it that Optimus 2-pack with the G1 and the movie Optimus in it?
Negative. By then, he was already being called Optimus Prime. So it's pre-2007, because in 2007 is when they rolled him over from Convoy to Optimus Prime.
Oh, I get the question.
That was Dark of the Moon, that 2-pack, right?
Correct. The Chronicle 2-pack, I believe, is what it was called.
Oh, was it animated?
Predates animated.
No. Because animated was after. I don't know.
Anybody? Lucas? Rob?
Like, Paul might know, because he likes a lot of the specific Japanese, and he cares about names on things like that, whereas I'm oblivious.
You ready?
Yeah.
It's Gobots.
Fucking Gobots. Of course, it's on topic.
There you
Got it all
go.
back together.
Optimus Prime. Same card front with a sticker over the top here, like where it says Robots in Disguise. It just says whatever. I don't read Japanese, sorry. And on the back, it's got Japanese card.
Oh,
And he's not
there you
Convoy.
go.
He's Optimus
It's
Prime.
fun.
Good job tying it all back together.
Hey, you know what we should do in a week or two? Microman.
I don't have any. Well, I don't have a lot of
Or
Microman.
Micro Change, sorry. It's like that has some ties to Transformers.
Does
little
it? Does it?
All
Yeah,
right.
mine-
Last thing we're gonna do is everyone's gonna say their favorite GoBot. GoBot.
Character or toy?
Toy. I'm gonna start it off. Give you guys a chance to think. Dive, because I had so much fun playing with that. I'm gonna go to Robert.
Monstrous.
Monstrous. Lucas.
It's kind of a cop out, but I'm doing it.
I mean, I'll say the bigger version of Leader One, the Super GoBot version.
This guy.
Okay.
That guy.
And-
yeah.
And Peter.
Super Gobot Spacey. I loved that toy.
All right. Good chat, everyone.
So I do want to mention book club this week is going to be RID 46 and Redemption. So that is going to be Sunday night on the TF Talk Discord. So join them at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. And thank you guys for joining us. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to Zaldron and God Ravage. Thanks to Anna, who is in the chat as well. Rich. Antoine was in there earlier as well.
Soulcraft.
And Soulcraft, yep. So if I missed anyone, I apologize. But thank you guys. Thank you, everyone. And we will see you next week.
Thank you so much.